And the most popular dish probably in the Kashmiri cuisine is the Roganjosh. There are numerous recipes for Roganjosh. What I am going to show you today is the way it is made there in the valley. What we have done is lean lamb, either from ran, or along with the ran you also can use the cham or the thicker ribs, or you can also use something which we call a ribeye steak, which is a part of the ribs, the back ribs or the backbone. You need meat which has bone on it and which has also a good amount of fat on it. So lamb, mustard oil, cardamom, green, cinnamon, cloves. Then we have bay leaf, we have cumin, we have dahi. This is going to form the thickness of the gravy. Then we have salt, we have Kashmiri red chilies, we have soft powder or fennel powder, we have ginger powder. We need very little of turmeric just to give that good effect of the red color, and we have black cardamom. So this is all going to be cooked in mustard oil, and before we put all this in mustard oil, there is a little bit of a marination that is required. So we'll do that marination, but before that I'm going to put the mustard oil for smoking. What we'll have to do is we'll have to smoke the mustard oil so that it does not give that off flavor in the end. I'll be very generous with the mustard oil because Roganjosh needs to have that Rogan, and we have around 250-300 grams of lamb. So in goes the mustard oil. Okay, while the mustard oil is heating up, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the dahi from here and put a little bit of dahi into the mutton, very little because we'll use it for the gravy also later, and little bit of red chili powder and a little bit of salt powder, very little ginger powder, and I'm going to mix it. This is a little basic marination of this meat. If you wish at this stage, you can also put in some salt, just a little bit. This is one part of the recipe. Another part of the recipe is generally in Kashmir, whenever you use hing or you use asafoetida as it is called in English, you soak it in water, just soak it in some warm water. And I have soaked the hing in warm water, so what we'll go do is we will be giving a tempering, a chone of the asafoetida after the mustard oil smokes. So we'll have to wait for the mustard oil to smoke. In the meantime, I'm going to take all these whole masalas and put them a few green cardamom, just 2 black cardamoms, around 5 to 6 cloves, because this needs to be really fiery, it needs to be spicy and hot at the same time. 2 pieces of cinnamon, 2 bay leaves, cumin, loads, and I'm going to take the black cardamom and crush it to release the seeds. Some people also put red chilies, whole red chilies into the Roganjosh, but you may or may not use it. I'll just use one red chili. The oil is smoking already. Now, before putting anything else into this, I'm going to put this hing which I had soaked. So how do we do that? We put it slowly. You can also cover it for some time if it is crackling too much, but here it's fine. So a little bit more of the switch on at medium heat, let it cook, and in go the whole spices, all of them together. So in this Roganjosh, there is going to be no onion, there is going to be no garlic, there is going to be no ginger, there is of course going to be ginger powder, but no red ginger. Let it cook. The mutton is marinating. I also have some mutton stock which I have kept for giving body to this. If you have, you can use a ready-made yakni. You can also use mutton if you have boiled mutton for something else. So, when you are cooking Roganjosh or when you are cooking a kalya, the tears generally come before the cooking, not after the cooking. Okay, in goes the lamb. And thus starts the tedious journey of bunoing the lamb. Now this is going to buno for a good 45 minutes. If you have good lamb, if you are lucky, 45 minutes, but you need to buno it to the level where it starts getting brown and all the spices and the oil that is inside gets blended into the meat, the flavors mingle, and we will keep on bunoing it for some time. And while it is getting bunoed, I will make a small bowl full of the powdered spices, which I am going to later on put it into this tray. So let them also sit down and mingle with each other. I am taking 2 tablespoons of salt powder, half a tablespoon of ginger powder, quarter tablespoon of turmeric, 2 tablespoons of red chili, Kashmiri red chili, and I am going to add some water and I am going to make a fine paste. I like using spices like this because I feel that by putting the spices into a mixture with water, you get better colors once you put it into the oil. I'll make a thick paste first, then I'll add a little bit more water into this to make a fine paste. And if you put it into the water more earlier, let's say for example, a mutton is now going to cook for at least half an hour, if nothing less or more. I'll just keep the spices diluted like this. We have to continuously keep on stirring the lamb. We want it to become nice and brown but not burn. One more piece of advice, in case you feel, although I have added generous amounts of oil into this, in case you feel that the mutton is sticking to the base, the oil is less or it's caramelizing too much, don't mind, put a little bit of water at times, let it dry up again, because there is no onion here, there is no garlic, ginger, so be sure that the spices are not burning. That is very important, and that the mutton that you are cooking is browning well. So it's almost like pot roasting with a little excessive oil, right? So we will let it cook. Okay, the mutton has been roasting in the pan for some time. If you can see, the mutton is brown now. this is the time when I will reduce the heat a little bit, and now I will add the powdered spices. The powdered spices have been sitting in this water for the whole time as the mutton was getting pot roasted or gunoi. We will add these spices into the mutton and cook it along. I will wait for these spices to start cooking, bubbles coming, and once I feel that the spices have cooked, I'll add a little bit of salt, and then I will add a little bit of stock into it, or water you can add, and then in the end, once it reduces back, we will have to finish it with dahi, well beaten yogurt. It's very important that the yogurt that we use is well beaten, otherwise you will have small white patches in a fiery Roganjosh, which is not appreciated. Wow, you can already see that dark Roganjosh color coming on. The flavor, I'm adding a little bit of salt now at this stage. A little bit less because we don't want to put too much salt because this will not have any gravy. This is going to be a thick mutton curry or a Roganjosh. Okay, we can already see bubbles. That means the spices are leaving oil. I will now put in some stock before putting a lid on top of this. Stock, because I had it. You can also use water, because since the mutton has been cooked in the same pot, so we already have per se stock inside the pot. So what I'm going to do is reduce the heat by 1 mark and cover it and cook it in dum for some time. Rogan Josh cooking. It has been in dum for almost 20 minutes. After I finished roasting it, you can see that Rogan has already started coming out. Now is the time for us to increase the temperature a little bit, not much. It should still be at a simmer. And what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just taste it a little bit before I put in the dahi. So that I can adjust the seasoning. Salt and all is okay. Spiciness is also okay. And now I am adding yogurt, which has been very nicely beaten. It can't have any lumps, otherwise what is going to happen is the lumps will be seen in the Rogan Josh and it does not look very appetizing. 3 tablespoons of dahi goes into the Rogan Josh, and now on it will not be boiled, only simmered. I will just cover it again for a few seconds at medium heat. I'll just take some coriander and chop some coriander fine. Only the leaves, not the stalks. I like stalks, but then not for garnish. Little fine the chopped coriander. I like a little bit of coriander going into the Rogan Josh itself, and then maybe a little bit going on top as a garnish. While the Rogan Josh is cooking, I will put some part of this coriander into the finishing of the Rogan Josh. think I'll remove the cover. It needs to get a little bit more of liquid. Let it simmer a little bit. Keep the coriander ready for the garnishing. And thus we finish the Rogan Josh. The Rogan can be seen inside the container. I'm switching it off. You can see the Rogan just above the mutton. We're going to use it later. And I'll get an entree dish. I'm going to take out this mutton and keep it on top of this there. And take a tong, take the mutton out from this. I want to show you how well the mutton has cooked in the Rogan Josh. You just have to pluck it with your hands and the mutton is there. The lamb in the mutton has to be a generous mix of bones, fat, and of course the meat. And thick masala along with rogan goes on top. Roganjosh is a dish which Kashmiris also savor with rice and with bagar khani or with another bread which is called ghee roti. And I'm going to take the item that gives this Rogan Josh the name, the Rogan. I'm going to add that Rogan in here. Take this, keep it on the side. I like the Rogan Josh to be garnished with a little bit of coriander, generously chopped coriander. And this is your lamb Rogan Josh.